Hello and welcome to another video by myself, Chris from Sorare on a Budget. Tonight I'm going to be taking a look at some budget goalkeepers, rare ones that you could be able to use in your various leagues. I'm doing it a little bit different. There's no slides. I haven't done any preparation for this one, mainly because we're working all day, haven't had a chance to do it. So what I thought I would do is I would do it as a live search, the way that I would do it if I was looking for players on the market. So I've got a few utilities open here. I've obviously got Sorare data as my first one I've got here. I've also got the Sorare website as well. I've got Twitter. I've also got Transfer Market, and I've also got SofaScore. So this will give us a wee bit of a help to go and find out some information about some players that we can find them. And you can cater this to whatever budget and whichever way you want to do so. But I'm going to give you an example of how I would do it, and then the research I would do to back up my findings. So what I would do first and foremost is I'm going to go into the Scout Player Finder. I noticed in the last few videos I played with my beard an awful lot. I need to go over that. It's like a nervous tick, but if I shave, I look like a 10-year-old. So 10-year-old with grey hair. Right, so I'm going to change this up just for goalkeepers. Now, because of the leagues that are currently running, and just where kind of a lot of people focus, I'm going to look at the European goalkeepers. It's probably going to end up being Challenger Europe goalkeepers that come up because of the prices of the Champion Europe ones, but I'll put both in and we'll see what we'll come up with. Now, that's the only changes I make to up here. I've left it as only starters, goalkeepers, and I haven't put in any injuries, age ranges, or anything like that because age ranges really don't fuss me. I've mentioned in a few videos, the players don't stay in my gallery for long enough for me to worry about their age. So all I'm going to look at when I'm looking for a lot of players just now that I want to plug straight into my SO5s, I've not necessarily looked at the past 15 games. A lot of times I'm looking purely at the last 5. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring that to any, and I'm going to max that up as well. And I'll max that up. We're not going to get any goalkeepers with 100 average, but I tend, when I've been looking for the goalkeepers, to try and, if I want to find ones on a budget, I've not really been moving that scale up, because when you start to move that scale up, the prices start to creep up even higher. I think 600, 700, 800 quid for a starting goalkeeper is still mad money. My first 2 cars cost me 800 quid in total. So to spend it on a digital football card seems nuts to me, but it's the nature of the beast. So this one I'm going to put straight up to 100% of games played and 100%. So basically for the last 5 games, I've started every one of the games. You can do this search exactly the same for limiteds or whatever, but I'm just going to do it for rares in this one just because that's the way I do it. Now, we've got the average price, which is going to give you like a 3-day average, a 7-day average, 2-week average, or a 1-month average. I'm going to take that off just now, and I'll go back in and I'll show you why I take it off and what, and then when you can take off the best market and switch it to average, and we'll have a look at that as well. So I'm going to search up to, let's say for argument's sake, 0.3 now. He's taken a big crash in the last 24 hours when I'm recording this. It's the 6th of January when I'm recording this. So it has crashed quite a bit. That at the moment is probably, I think, about 780 quid, which again, as I've mentioned, is a lot of money. So we'll bring the search up now. It seems to have found quite a lot of players here. So we've got 21. Now, my bets are, as you can see from the top line here, we're going to find a lot of older keepers. We're also going to find a lot of Russian-based goalkeepers, and we're going to find a lot of Austrian-based goalkeepers. The reason you're going to find a lot of Austrians and Russians is because they're still in their off period. Now, personally, I think if you've got common goalkeepers you can run with for the next 6 weeks, the best value you can get at the moment is to buy in the Russian league or the Austrian league. There are quite a few players you can pick up there that would be, within that budget, and also that are regulars, things like that. So, apologies if I'm not necessarily looking straight at the camera. I'm looking at my screen because I'm trying to do this a little bit different. So, the first one that comes, it orders them in order of the last 15 score. So the first one that comes up is Akinfeev, captain as well, I believe, at CSKA Moscow. Now, I'm going to go in and click on a few of them. We'll have a look at a couple of things about them. But Akinfeev, I know offhand, I believe he's the captain. And I also read something the other day that he's not agreed a new contract for next season yet. So that'd be the only thing that would concern me. But to be honest, I probably would only use them for maybe a month to 6 weeks before I'd then be right, okay, the market's stabilized with this league being back. I can now sell them for a bit more. I could trade into, a Belgian keeper or wherever wherever else. We've also got 40-year-old goalkeeper from the Spanish league, but again, you're going to get, you are going to get games out of them. Koffler and a couple of more known faces, Sammy Bosat, one of the cheaper ones, but also 36. Excuse me, I would sneeze. Excuse me. I don't think I've done that on stream before. But hey ho, apologies for that, folks. Mike Van Hamel from the illustriously doomed looking Beerschot. Never know, could pull off a miracle. Also could do you a job at 0.18. And then, like I said, it gives you a lot of details and a lot of players there that you could see. And as I said about the ages, you can see it's a lot of older goalkeepers that come up for this price. Or keepers that I know, for example, Altaker at the bottom of the league and not looking great. Just got a new manager though, so you never know, they could turn things around. Selikov, Moscow, hasn't played all the games, been a replacement keeper, and such like, so the way I would then kind of narrow it down is, I would be looking at the 100% to make sure they're playing, Paul Gartler, for example, Rapid Vienna, he has played all of the last 15 games. Now, I do also believe he isn't the #1 goalkeeper. I think he came in for somebody who was injured. This is just through research that I've done, but I believe the other keeper came back, but Gartler still held the shirt. So that would be something to look at, but I'm going to show you how I would find all that. I'm just looking down to see what else we've got. Lamprey, very cheap, very relegated. Van Och was one that I looked up. To be honest, a lot of common cards would score you that sort of, that sort of score. So I'm going to go back up towards the top, and I'm going to take a look at, for argument's sake, let's look at, let's go look at Akinfeev. Okay, so we can click on him. It's going to open a new tab. And it's going to show us, his average price for the last month, 0.205, last 3 days, 211. I should probably have changed that. But then again, there's a lot of people from different countries watch it. You can convert it into your currency. It is shown in dollars underneath here, so it's $750. It's about 2.5 times that for pounds at the moment. So you're probably talking just over 500 quid. Not the most expensive. We can look at his SO5 scores. You can also see, as their league started to come towards an end and other leagues opened up, he dropped from kind of 2.5 down to the sort of 2 range, and it has been underneath as well. Scores, you can see from his averages there. One of the better teams in the country as well. A lot of high green scores, and probably mostly clean sheets. If you scroll down, you probably see decisive 60, 60, 60. And did concede 4 here, so it was only 15. A lot of decisives there on that one. So what I would then take from here is I would go from there, and then I would look at football transfers for the transfer market. And I'm looking up Akinfeev. You see the big list of players that come up. I've searched for so many. So there we go. We have Akinfeev comes up, and as you can see, his contract runs out in the summer. But that's not any sign that he's necessarily going to retire. That could obviously change over the next few weeks. What you would probably want to do is keep an eye on Twitter or wherever else to see if you see any news of new contracts and to keep an eye on it. But what I then do is have a little look here. So he's had 18 appearances, 16 goals conceded, but he's had 9 clean sheets. So there's 9 decisives right off the bat. Penalty saves, he's had 1 save, or he's saved 50% of them. I'm going to hedge my bets on that being 1 out of 2. And yeah, 100% of the starts and 100% of the minutes. If you want to get a bit more information, you can click into the advanced details. You can see there with the C, that's the captain's armband. And then you get individual data for every single game there. You know, you could see all the captaincies. It doesn't actually show you the penalty saves on there, so I don't know how many that is. But what we could then look at a little bit further, if you want a wee bit more information, I usually use SofaScore on my phone. A little bit easier, but if I scroll down all the leagues, I could have just searched at the top. Should have really just searched at the top. The Russian league, let's look at the Premier League, so we can actually see the standings. So you see CSKA are fourth in the league. I mean, I know that, you probably know that, there's no threat of relegation, but this is always checks I would do. Find out where the team is in the league and have a look and see, right, okay, well, that's a safe pickup. There's no danger of them going down, getting relegated, that sort of thing. What we can then look at is up here, we can search just for Akinfeev here, and you've got a wee bit more information. It's just an extra little backup as to, you know, you get their season heat map, and you will also get a lot of stats. There you go, penalty saves per games. It says here penalty saved 0 of 2. So we've got a conflict there. Might have to do a wee bit of digging on that if you were going for them, but you can have a look and see. We do get a lot more detailed stats. One good one to look at is the accuracy of the passing, just because you do lose a wee bit of points for inaccurate passes. So yeah, not bad. Keeper, 9 clean sheets. At the 0.21 bracket, that's not too shabby. The one thing I would suggest doing, and it's something I'll do just now, let me scroll up here. So that's the most recent game there, and it will bring up, or will it? There we go, brings up the details here. And because I've got a square around my screen where I'm actually sharing, it's a bit of a pain in the arse. So what I would then look to do is also find out who the backup goalkeepers are. And I'm going to guess, looking at Danila Bakov as being one of them. Yep, goalkeeper. And I suspect there was actually a second there as well. That looks like a goalie top he's got on. Yeah, so they had 2 goalkeepers on the bench. So the other way you could look at that is when you've got Akinfeev open, you can click on the club. It'll bring that open, and you can click on the roster. That way you can see how many other goalkeepers they've got in the game. In fact, they've only got Torup in the game. So you might want to check out what his price is. It's an astronomical price for a backup goalkeeper, probably because he's likely to be the number 1, or speculated to be the number 1. I don't know without doing any digging. I genuinely have no idea on that. So that would be something. To be honest, that price would instantly scare me off, because then I've always said, something that Scotland Sorare Russell said to me a long time ago was, if you're buying a goalkeeper, you buy the backup. That way, if he gets injured, suspended, dropped, whatever, you've got the backup that's going to take the share, and that way it helps protect your investment. Now, some people see that as dead money. You know, you're spending, 50, 60, 70 quid on a backup that's never going to play. But to me, that's an insurance policy in case something happens to that number 1 goalkeeper. You never know. Could also then happen that the number 2 gets a move or becomes the number 1, and your number 1's moved to another club, and you've got 2 starting goalkeepers. So, but you might never use it. So when you do end up then selling your goalkeeper, your number 1, you can sell your backup at the same time. Purely an insurance policy. I would always recommend it, and that's why I always try to find 2 that I can afford, as opposed to finding a cheap starter, but then you find their backup costs just as much, and then you're into, like here we'll be looking at, I mean, what the best offer is ridiculous, but if it was looking at the recent sales, you're looking at what's that, 0.38 to get the starter and backup for CSKA. So that's something to bear in mind and consider. But that's how I would look at the 2 of the main way I would then dig in and find out a little bit more information for the keepers. What I will do is I will have a look at a couple of them, and we can have a look together and see what's what. So let's have a look at Koffler. Now, again, he's one I have looked at before. as you can see there by the search. Plays for Wolfsburg, Wolfsberger. I believe they're third in the league. Now he wasn't this, or let's have a look. Yeah, he wasn't the starter. So, and it might have been him instead of the Rapid Vienna goalkeeper I was looking at earlier. So he started from game 5 onwards, and he started every game since then. But what we're going to have a little look at just now is, let's bring up the Wolfsberger lineup. And it is, yeah, it's Manuel Kutin, because I had a look at him as well. Now, his price isn't terrible. I mean, you can actually get both those goalkeepers for less than 0.2. But if we look at Kutin, I'm going to guarantee that he started the season. And I think he just came back and has been on the bench in the last couple of games. This is the pain in the arse thing with this. It brings up so many adverts on Transfer Market, and you'll be minding your own business, but you forget that your sound's on, and all of a sudden an advert starts playing and scares the living shit out of you. Yeah, Manuel Kutin started the season as the number 1 and then was dropped and on the bench. So for 0.2, you could get the pair of these players, Kutin and Koffler. Yeah, I mean, God, that's not a bad option. Especially if we go and have a look at the league. Because I've got these open, honestly. I hate the SofaScore website. I love it on my phone, on the app, but I hate it on the laptop. It just doesn't work as smoothly for me. But that's just me. I'm a technophobe, or whatever you call it these days, grandpa or something like that. There we go, 3rd in the league, well clear of any relegation worries, and the season they're going to split in 4 more games, so they're comfortably in the top 6. They would need a dramatic, drop to finish in the bottom 6. So that's a team that's completely safe. Okay, he's 35. The backup is sitting at, 28? So you could pick both those up. At the moment, with the way he's sitting at, you're paying roughly 520 quid for starter and a backup. Bang, there you go. Decent scores on him as well. As I say, they are 3rd in the league. But what you would also have to have a look at, and we could easily do that here, is just making sure that Wolfsberger haven't went and picked up another goalkeeper or what have you. I'm actually in the wrong place for searching that, to be honest. It's here I need to look at, because this will bring up the squads and also show us any latest moves. So we've got Koffler and Kutin and internal transfer. So that's, it's just one of the younger keepers that was called up. New arrivals, and you can see here they've got new signings, but none of them are goalkeepers. So I feel fairly comfortable with that, to be perfectly honest. 0.2, and you've got another, you've got a starting goalkeeper. You could either play in Challenger Europe, you could play them in Global. Now that search, you can do that for anyone, and it's not a complicated search. You can customize it, because you might find, obviously, in the current climate with COVID and things like that, you might want to just search and say, right, okay, we'll look for players that have started maybe 4 of the last games. So I don't ever search at 80%. I tend to find that it doesn't come up, so I usually drop it underneath, because 80% is obviously going to give you the players that have started 4 games. So just narrow that down, and that'll annoy somebody's OCD that I've got one at 72 and one at 73, but that's how it is. So you see that's just changed from 21 players to 29 players. So there's a few players here that have played, say there we go, we've got Kirintilli from Alanyaspor. I believe he was dropped, and Marafona started as their keeper instead in the last game. So I don't know if that's a long-term drop or not. That'd be something for Sorare Turkey maybe. And then here's another one where a keeper's missed a game. That could be a red card or whatever. But again, if you want to go and have a look at that, you can look at Lantra Let's bring it up in here, Lantratov. So as I say, I'm not really giving any particular recommendations in this video. It's really just showing how I would go about looking for it, because everybody's budget, especially when it comes to goalkeepers, is completely different. Personally, I've picked up 2 Austrian goalkeepers that are going to be for mid-February when they come back, the weekend of the 11th, 12th and 13th. And I'm happy with that. If I wait until February to start buying them, the prices are going to be more expensive. I mean, Siebenhandel, I'll show in a second, in Sorare data, both the cards have gone up in price before the crash. So, you know, that is what it is now. Oddly, it's showing them as 100% here. So there must be a wee bit of a conflict of data, but there isn't. So, but yeah, again, you just want to go maybe have a dig in to see, okay, he's only showing us having played 80% of the games, but on there he's showing us 100. So where's the game he's missed? Was it maybe a game that was postponed or something? I don't really know. Let's have a look at scores. There's the DNP there, week 2 and 7. Oh, it was an international fixture. Okay, that's why. So he must have been called up to the international squad and been the substitute. So it's not really a DNP. So that, well, it is and it isn't. It's not a DNP for his club. So that's one where you might want to, that's why if you do a bit of digging, you'll find out why that was a DNP. And that applies to all players, to be perfectly honest. You should really do quite a bit of research. But you can see here, a month ago, 0.228, and he's gone all the way down to 0.203 as his price. And you know, best offer on the market 0.25. There's only 11 of them, so sometimes that happens. But you know, those other prices are more than likely going to be auction prices. So if you keep an eye on the auctions, because I mean they come around every few days or so. That's bought by. So that was auction. That was auction. That was auction. So yeah, if you mean that's a card that you can probably keep an eye on the auctions, and if you see it coming round and you've got the ETH there, you can go and see if you can pick it up. Again, you'd have to look at league positions, things like that. But as I say, I'm not particularly giving recommendations on the players, but just to give an idea of the price changes, if I go back to my own club, Siebenhandel, I paid 0.24 for him. Recent sales have been 0.27. So that's, in terms of ETH, almost 20% higher. Yes, ETH has dropped 10%, give or take, in the last couple of days. But it still has gone up for the prices. Now, if I click in, and I'll actually bring up his, here he comes, there we go. So if I change this to sort it by, I mean, you can see how high it was, you know, October, before their season started to dwindle down. I mean, he was sitting above the 0.3 bracket. If I change it to look at just pound value, that way it gives you actually more of a consistent price rather than worrying about where the ETH's at. Yeah, it's still sitting. I mean, I paid 2.4 for him. Mine's will be there someplace. I bought him before Christmas. I didn't trade for him. Oh, there we go. So I paid slightly over some of the other prices there. But if I'm looking at pounds, I paid 7.18. But I can look back to kind of this area here where, you know, the cards were still, you know, moderately new. But there was, you know, it's before their season was winding down. Now that it's starting to get ready again, they're going to have, I believe, 14 more games for the season. And as I think, I want to say, apologies, I genuinely can't remember who it was that said it. I want to say it was Sorare Road to Glory. There's one of the guys said about the Austrian and the Russian leagues, obviously having a long winter breaks. Next season, every country is going to have a long winter break because of the World Cup. So the World Cup running from what is it, the end of November through to the end of December, beginning of January, whatever it may work out as. Everyone's going to have a long winter break. So the disadvantage with the Austrian and Russian cards that you see this season, next season, you're not likely to see that. So I've said, you know, 3-4 weeks in my gallery is a long time. So worrying about 10 months time to me is not a big deal, but for a lot of people it is. You know, a lot of people are, I pretty much plug and play, whereas I'm changing all the time. So it's worth having a wee look at those kind of things. So that's really kind of it. There's not an awful lot more that I can really show. Blank balance for a rare change here. I spent the last of my ETH on a defender the other day. I'm just going to quickly, I just need to move you won't see where I've moved my camera picture over to the side here. I'm just checking to see if there's any new offers through. And no, but the good thing is ETH's back on the rise again. So happy days. But yes, that's that. I hope it was helpful, because it is genuinely how I search for any of my players, but particularly the goalkeepers. It's quite handy to go in and have a wee dig and see what you can find that way. If you need any more help and advice, by all means, give us a shout. I'm happy to help. And yeah, that'll be that. Link to join Sorare will be in the description below, along with any other information I've got about the video. So thanks very much. I will speak to you all again soon. And if I don't speak to you before the weekend, have a good game week. It's going to be a lottery. I said on Twitter today, I think it might well be a case of get 5 cards that actually start, and you might be in with a shout of a card because the DNPs are going to be wild. So yeah, let's see how we all get on. Take care, guys, and I will speak to you all again soon. Cheers.